Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a rare occasion where we are able to get a little bit of a tier 2 stream going for you tonight. Unfortunately, we're not able to do as much as we'd like to, but hey, we're here, we're ready to do it. Joining me, we have Nichols 333 by way of the East Coast joining me tonight as we are doing a little bit different than Tier 1 where we have a one-shot qualifying, the traditional sprint race, and then the feature. Unlike Tier 1 tonight, who had its second reverse start grid of the night. Nichols, thanks for joining us today. While we watch this one-shot quali, how was the Tier 1 race for you?
Well, good evening, Hines. It's a pleasure to be with you. It was kind of a mixed night. As you said, there wasn't a one-shot quali and there was a reverse grid start, so I started at the very back, and my race got blown up even before it started. There was a
But is that
huge...
not a testament, though, to the ability of your season thus far? You know,
Oh,
starting in the back,
absolutely.
that means you're to the top of the points table, and I think a lot of that comes from your teammate and working with him last year in MCU Freedom. A night and day difference, and no disrespect by that,
Oh, no,
but a
absolutely.
complete turnaround from season 2 to 3.
Sure. Well, I had a lot to learn, and a lot of it was just the understanding the setups and also just the approach before the race to put in the time to figure out my setup and what kind of lines to take around the track, how to manage my tires. I mean, there's a lot to learn, and the first season was really just kind of a trial run.
I got you. Very nice. Real quick, we'll come back to some more questions for you in a second, but do want to point out we do have one of the admin stewards who are hosting a Lobby Fat Lives running today. We probably expect to see him do a little DNF action here and there at some point. But Phil Mustard having a great run, taking P2 with J Supreme P3. J Supreme's been in great form as of late, along with Lumpy Cheeks. We are missing Flanman, who has also been very, very hot since dropping down to T2 for Season 4 due to time constraints. Really looking forward to seeing what the sprint's going to have in store, and if it can be a little bit better start than that of T1, where we did see Hold My Dung, I believe it was, into Williams, failed to launch off the line, creating a little bit of pandemonium, as you heard Nichols reference a few moments ago. Not the best start in the sprint, but we're going to hope it's a little bit different story here in T2, who could be the champions of tomorrow. But you did mention, Nichols, that it is, there's a lot that goes into it. Myself, personally, I don't really play too much with the setups in terms of changing it to my drivability. I more adapt to the setup that I find that fits how I drive the best, and then make slight tweaks here and there in terms of air pressure. So I use a lot of MCU Freedom. I've used some Pyrex. I try to go with those drivers that I know have wheels, whether it be a G920, be
But
it
not me,
a
I
Fanatec,
notice.
whatever. But I said Nichols. I
Oh,
threw Nichols out there.
oh, okay.
But I don't necessarily curate it to me. I adapt.
Sure.
I've always been a guy to come in and tell my crew when I used to race back in the day, hey, this is what the car's doing, this is what I need it to do. And it's a little bit easier when, you only have a couple springs, tire pressure, gear ratios, and then and really, that's it. When you're talking, downforce and aerodynamics and then roll bars, it's a whole different game. So I've always,
Right.
now in this, at least in sim racing, I adapt and I make myself work to the car.
Sure.
What
That's
do you
that's
kind of use
one
as your strategy?
that's one approach. Um, Typically I will start with somebody else's setup just to see how it goes. But a lot of the time at this point, I've developed some setups of my own that I know are really stable and really fast, and then I'll just adjust the wings at this stage. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
the tire pressures. And a lot of the
So far,
time, I'll just go
ooh,
on.
ooh, we got a car, one car around. We have XJ Boy, who
Shoot.
DNF'd in the qualifying, made a couple positions up, spin out. Takeshi, for whatever reason, also driving, not sure why, spinning out as well. Uh, we do have 15 cars in it today, so that's fantastic news. I don't know if Takeshi meant to be a spectator or not, but here he is. Sorry, go ahead and go back to where I just made jump in here and there as we see it fit. As Fat Labs is jumping out to a quick lead with Phil Mustard, J Supreme, Mooney, Harper Shock on his tail. Every driver here, real quick, within a half a second of each other, outside of XJ and Takeshi, who are back in P14 and 15 respectively. As it runs now, T2 is looking pretty solid. A lot of single file action, trying to warm up the tires still a little bit, although that has been fixed since the most recent patch update that came through yesterday from EA Sports and Codemasters. I think lap 3 is probably going to be where we're going to see a lot of the DRS come into play if they maintain these deltas.
Yeah, I was actually unaware that there was another Delta yesterday.
Delta or update? Heyo.
Update, excuse me. So what did it change?
So it was a handful of stuff. Obviously, they always do some fine tuning on, the feedbacks, the steering,
Right.
little tweaks here and there to the gaming. But primarily, the biggest one that they did was going to be that it fixed the glitch that we encountered a couple weeks back with the formation lap. That if a host was spectating the lobby, it would glitch it. That has now since been fixed, but they also fixed the fact that the tires would not start necessarily super cold.
I
Because
did
there was
notice
glitches
that.
where somebody
Yeah,
got
that was.
disqualified, you would drop down to 70 degrees again. So there's really not the need for the formation lap unless we really wanted to allow people to try to angle their car or get that perfect optimal starting spot, because you can over encroach a little bit, but if you go just too far to get in that red zone, it's going to set you back.
Right, I did notice that the tires start now at around 90 degrees Celsius, which is so helpful, especially when you're on hards.
100%.
I'm on board with
give me a
Lumpy
little bit of
Cheeks, by the way.
Perfect.
I
I
figure
will get
Lumpy
you,
Cheese is a great driver to follow because he's in P7 and he took the Grand Slam last race. He took,
Did he get the fastest lap as well?
I believe he did. He took 30 points, which, if my math serves, is every single point available for first place.
That would be indeed.
That's impressive.
I don't
and
think I realized
noticed
that. That is very impressive.
on the chart for each race that he has raced in, I believe he's averaging over 20 points.
Oh, he's doing fantastic.
So he's taking
It's
T2
kind
by
of
storm.
unfortunate. It is, and you know what? Flameman's also been doing very well as well. It's kind of a little bit of a bummer though to see him missing tonight, because him and Jay Supreme and the Ferrari team has been doing very good. I believe taking double podiums in the last 2, if not 3 races.
That's right. I believe I watched them take double podiums at Spa.
Oh, we got one car off to the inside, hard into the wall. I believe that was T0. I'm just gonna call him Tuned. The brother there of JMN, and also teammate, dropped way back hard onto the inside wall. Unfortunately for him, he's hoping to get up there that he can serve at least part of his grid penalty drop that he has from Monaco, taking an 8th-place grid drop from the sprint finish, hoping to rebound a little bit, get some of that back. Otherwise, that's going to be pushed on into Imola. And oh, we got contact real quick also between, I believe it's Jay Supreme and Phil Mustard. Or I'm sorry, that would be Fat and Phil. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, I'm actually following exactly the same battle. It looked like Phil was kind of pushing Fat around the track, and Fat, in an attempt to gain position back, made a little bit of contact, which allowed Supreme to get on Phil's tail. And we have a disqualification, Takashi, who got a 10-second time penalty just earlier in the lap, has been disqualified completely.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to race so much in this, but we'll see what happens.
Well, that's too bad for whatever team he was racing for. He's gonna have to start at the back of the grid.
I think he wanted to commentate with us. I think he got kicked and then had to rejoin. And unfortunately, he did not make it back in time, and therefore got thrown into it. So I think he just kind of threw the race a little bit.
I see.
But Harper Shock having a good race. So far, also Mooney and Dream to Cream having clean ones as well. Fat Life starting to drop back now, letting the T2 boys run as they normally would. And it looks like, though, despite the close gaps, we're going to go ahead and continue to be. Ooh, we do have a little bit of a battle right here as Mooney's all up on the back of Dream now. I'm going to go ahead and ride on board with this as it is Dream, Mooney, and Lumpy all very, very close together. Probably the best action on the track at the moment. These top 5 separated by only a second and a half as we now have a caution with Savage Goat going around, coming out of the long very, very fast. I think it's pronounced Signs going into the Basso S's.
Oh, is that how you say those? You
I
learn something new
believe
every
because
day.
I know BAUE is bow, so I assume it's Basso.
I see.
And the only
Well,
reason I know that is because of New Orleans. At least
oh,
down south around New
okay.
Orleans, you always get who is your beau, and it's who's your man, who's your your lover, your boyfriend,
Okay.
fiance, husband, whatever it may be. That's your beau.
There you
Kind of
go.
like when you see Go Tigers, Fellow Shoe, or Go Saints, and it's spelled GAUEX.
Right.
Yep, yep.
So,
A man, I'm a man of multiple culture. No, I'm just kidding.
very
But
cultured.
you
Very
know,
cultured.
these top 7 now are all very, very close. This is anybody's sprint race. As we are
And
in the final turn, Harper
I would
Shock all
note
the way
that
back
they
on the
are
field.
all completely out of ERS, so I expect these positions to hold.
I'm excited. I'm here for it.
Yeah, this has been a good race, especially for the top 5 to 6 drivers. Unfortunately, Fat lost it at one point. Oh, Phil just got a little loose, but
But he
he's
does
gonna
not
hold
necessarily
first.
account for it, so it's okay. And Fat's going to go ahead and hit the wall and say, have at it, gentlemen. I'm going to DNF and let you all finish suit. As he's in the middle, though, does not quite make the line. As we see a little bit of porpoising there from Pishao, our resident Cambodian. I believe it's Cambodian.
Is that right?
I believe that is part of his nationality um, or ethnicity. I should say, if I'm not mistaken, on his flag here. So for those of you just maybe tuning in for our first T2 stream of the year, this is the Fat Limits F1 League. Our typical format's going to be a one-shot qualification followed by a 5-lap sprint race and then a 50% feature race. The reason we choose to do the 5-lap sprint and just do a traditional 5-lap race versus the 10 to 12-lap sprint is you get to choose your tires. You get to get more of that sprint feel. It doesn't necessarily have to be the medium or the hard that's required. You can get a little bit racier, a little bit dancier, and really use that start to advance yourself the best you can. Other than that, it's going to be a standard safety car. It is reduced simulation damage and no track limits. So you can use every bit of the track you can get an advantage on as long as you do not use that to pass the car in front of you. You can run them down with it, you can gap them with it, you can't pass them. Welcome to Fat Limits. That is what it is called, and that is why we do it.
Yeah, I
Feel
think
free
it's
to
a
check us
really
out on YouTube or on our website, fatlimitsracing.com, or the Fat Limits F1 League on YouTube. Again, we have Nichols333 with us tonight. He just finished the Tier 1 division race. A little late race penalty was not what he wanted. It sacrificed a P4 position, but he is still sitting comfortably P2 in the standings, and he is very hungry because he got points, and the points leaders each did not. So welcome again.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to make up some ground on him, and hopefully I can make up some more. I think that result puts me within. Uh, he has 111. I have 96, so I think I can finish P2 and pull ahead. If he does not score, that is.
If he doesn't score in the next race, which we've seen before, he's had issues. It can be anybody's race.
That's right. He is a very aggressive driver, and sometimes that aggression just takes him out of races, unfortunately. But he's gotten a lot of
I will.
practice and he drives a lot, so every race, you can
He's in a
expect to see him at the top.
hand. He is in an absolute handful of leagues. But I mean, there is no knocking his drivability. He gets a lot of crap from some drivers, and he gets, he used to cut a lot of corners and turns like a lot of us did. But the fact of the matter is, the man's fast. He runs very quickly within track limits as well. Definitely a force to be reckoned with, and hopefully well, I say hopefully he's hoping that he could become our first ever two-time champion in fat limits.
Yeah, don't
Season
reveal
4,
your
I have
bias
not
there,
had that
Heinz.
yet. There is no bias. I'm here for a good, clean race, and I want to see everybody get it. The more winners, the better for the league. And that's one thing I forgot to mention real quick as we're at an intermission. We'll finish this quick comment, and then we'll go back to an intermission. But we utilize relegation promotion similar to that of the Premier League or EPL, if you're familiar with it, where instead of it being the top three and bottom three of each division getting promoted or relegated, we do the top four. So these drivers have qualified previously in previous seasons. They have earned their right to be where they are at, and it is very deserving. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break here and let you enjoy our Season 4 hype video brought to you by Big Moist, the Alpine driver, and a lot of our digital content creator. And again, this night brought to you by the Smithberry Winery in Newcastle, Kentucky. We are still sipping on some Chardonnay. Highly recommended if you're ever down in the Louisville, Kentucky area. We'll see you back just momentarily.
At 18,000 revolutions per minute, this isn't music. This is the scream of science. This is the inner world of pneumatic valve springs, of mean effective pressure, 300 brake horsepower per liter of displacement. The quest for the perfect four-stroke V8 naturally aspirated reciprocating engine. And in the middle of the hot metal, the carbon, the alloy technology, sits flesh and blood. Rising out of its carbon fiber monocoque, the coolest head. These are the eyes that can pick out a face in the crowd, as if motion were being slowed down. Not passing in a blur at 200 miles per hour. This is the pure mathematics of angles and aerodynamics, the physics of G-forces and friction, and the raw instinct to race. These are the masters of speed. This is Formula One.
So basically, with the app itself, you get qualifying, you get driver standings, you get team standings, you get, I think, the pure race pace and or maybe it's just consistency, and then top fastest laps. Then you also get, I think, now points and maybe positions. But I built out the race stats. I didn't have to use the rendered, the fast laps. I redesigned the entire lineup. Let's see what all.
Well,
is
you can get laps
So-
on different compounds.
Yes,
all
but
that
that's
stuff, too.
but that's in it. I've
Oh.
I've rebuilt the teams. I built the team season progress points, progress quality points, positions, stats, lineups, all that. And welcome back. You heard a little bit of talk from us. As you see on the bottom of our screen, as the lights are out, we have a possible 1 to 2 top strategy. The Tier 1 division, pretty much everybody used a one-stop strategy for those that were not involved in any early lap incidents. So far, so good as we come down out of turn 2, going down into the... Oh, we do have a little bit of a caution in the back. It looks like XJ Boy again finding a little bit of trouble in turn 1, turn 2. But other than that, it's been single file now as they are quickly getting in line. And it could potentially be a boring race. We'll see what happens.
Well, we lost Phil.
Oh, and I spoke too soon.
Very, very easy turn to lose it, just like he did.
You know, a lot of that comes down to the balance. You know, a lot of a lot of drivers ever since the last couple updates are really going to be utilizing they're utilizing a very low downforce setup. So when you get into those chicanes, when you get on those curbs a little bit, the slightest amount of balance is going to be gone. It's going to upset that rear end. You're going to get that snap of oversteer as you try to correct it. The likelihood of you overcorrecting it's fairly common. But at the same regard, you have that speed going down those long straightaways, particularly in here from, I think it is turn 15 or 16 down into turn 1, and then coming out of turn 10 down into like turn 11, and then again coming out of, I think it's 12 or 13 down into that long right-hand seams. Just a lot that can happen. But if you can handle the car, you're good until that degradation, starts to kick in.
That's right. I mean, especially on this track, there are several turns where you need to be very gentle on the throttle. And with these hard tires, especially before they're completely up to temperature, it's very easy to get a little greedy. And that's when you lose it. And that's exactly how Phil lost it right there. That long right-hander that we're about to come into. It's slow. You have to be very patient. Mooney is about to take it right now.
It's a very misleading right-hander because you mentioned long, but it's a very quick one. To me, when I think long, I'm thinking that very long 180 mile an hour, right hand coming out of that last chicane. You go down the straight. It's not quite the parabolic of Monza, but it's close.
No, you're right. But it is slow, so it feels like it takes a long time to pan out.
Yep. Riding on board real quick with Lumpy Cheeks, who's now on the inside of Dream. Dream's going to back off. Made the move a little bit sooner than I thought he would because coming up into that long right-hand turn, that's where you can see, as you see, Supreme working on it.
Supreme making the switchback.
One of my favorite places to pass on this track because if you have it hooked up just right, you can do a little bit of an underbrake and then get that turn and then power out while kind of holding that other driver to the outside. One other thing we forgot to mention, every single driver except for Phil, who spun on the hard compound tires, waiting to pit in the last closing stage of the race, probably around lap 16, actually probably around about lap 15 to 17. If T1 was any inclination of that stop, Phil going on the complete opposite strategy of that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, for the T1 feature race, I pit on lap 14, but was helped out a lot by a late safety car that helped me preserve my mediums for at least 3 laps. The safety car was out, but even so, my mediums were on about 40 to 43% degradation, which made it really hard to keep up with the first 3 to 4 drivers.
And, I wonder how much of that, though, also comes down to driving style and drivability. I like to think, and this could call it tooting your own horn, call it whatever you want. I like to think that I'm one of the drivers who can actually really keep those tires and kind of elongate that. I might lose out because I push it too long. And then those fresher tires are getting me in. Oh, we have Harbor Shot going around. Hits to the left rear end of the wall, but he spins it around. He's able to get it going again. Oh, almost making an unsafe re-entry. Kind of putting Savage Goat in a bad spot, but everything's going to work out as it should. We rode on board for that one. But you're right. It's all about how can you make those tires last. Jay Supreme's now out to a 2-second lead. If I'm him, back it off a little bit. Save that ERS. Save those tires. Maybe get that overcut by 1-2 laps. That's probably all you really want to do. But you're absolutely right. The softs here are going to be deadly. I think we only saw a handful of people take the last race, and I believe it was Mad Roller who said 5 laps, maybe 6 if you're lucky, is about all the lifespan you're going to get out of those softs.
Yeah, on a longer, fast track like this, softs are only going to last and help you make up a gap for maybe 3 to 4 laps. It was just something that never even crossed my mind to try.
Which, for those who may not watch Formula One, you'd think it'd be the opposite. You're not having to turn as much, right? It's longer straights. but you're slowing down so much. You're taking so much G that when you're making that right turn, that left turn, those axles and those springs, they're really, really cranking down, really forcing the pressure on those inside, outside, front, and rear tires. That's just absolutely burning it up to get the grip to be able to power off the way they do with such smooth and commandingness.
That's right, and even a slow speed turn or an exit, just like the final chicane that we're about to go through with Lumpy Cheeks, when you are in first or second gear, it'll burn up your rears really quickly as well. So you might find that your rears are going off even faster than your fronts, and it's mostly for that reason. You're trying to get so much traction and you're burning your tires up a lot. But that's where rear camber will really help you. If you set it mostly on this, on F122, if you set it all the way to the right, that means the least amount of camber that you can have. That'll help you get more grip and you won't burn them up nearly as much. We see Dream getting a little loose, and that's going to allow Lumpy to get on his back now. He goes defensive. And Dream is going to try and fight this position.
Almost with a little bit of a corner cut potentially, but wow, Lumpy just absolutely sticks it, gets in front of Dream with millimeters in between the front and rear wings of the car. But now Dream's trying to fight back. He got a really nice run out of it there. He's going to back off a little bit, whereas Lumpy decided to stick in the throttle just to take longer. And you can just see how that split-second reaction difference in strategy and on-off throttle really allowed Lumpy to kind of gap him already by 2/10 in just 2 turns.
And this battle has allowed Mooney to get on the back of Dream, so he's entered the fray. And even Nina now is on the back of him, so this battle for second is actually going back. This fighting is just a take off into the sunset. He now has a 3.6 second lead. Pat is getting onto the back of Nina.
I just heard you say that.
We got a yellow flag. It looks like
I believe XJ Boy again.
Yep.
I'm telling you, XJ has just struggled in that turn 1, turn 2. I don't know if it's the setup of the car, if he's getting on the curbs that's making it unbalanced, but something is just not right with that car. We're gonna have to go talk to the strategist, the team principal on that one, but unfortunately I don't think we'll be able to get with
I heard he's unbalanced.
today. We have Takashi in the booth with us. Thanks for joining us, Takashi.
Glad to be here, gentlemen.
That was a great podium you had tonight. Good job, bud.
Thank you. Good points for the Alpha tonight.
Great points for Alpha tonight. That's their first double podium of the season. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
It is indeed. I'll be making my way back for Japan. Ooh boy.
Wait, what's the next track, Emblem?
Yeah, but I'll be out of town for that one, unfortunately. So I'll be watching probably Mad Stream if it works out. I'll tell you what though, so far this race, it's been kind of uneventful for our drivers. A much more tame race in comparison to that of Tier 1. But again, when you have a sprint race where somebody doesn't get off the line, you have incidents similar to what we saw in Formula 2 earlier this season. It causes mayhem. You know, and unfortunately we saw exactly what that can do in Jeddah last season in Formula 2 with Enzo Fittipaldi just absolutely manhandling the back end of the car that failed to launch. And I cannot remember what that driver is off the top of my head. But all these cars are pretty much gapped now, with the exception of P2, P3, which we're riding on board with right now. and then it goes back to Nina and Fat Lives, who Fat Lives doesn't matter, so it's really going to be Nina and Mooney, and then you got another 5 seconds back almost to Jackie Boy here, and then Pichau, our resident Canadian chef, and then bouncing back nicely is Jack's brother. I just call him TNT because I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Wait, we
But
have
it is what
brothers
it
in
is. Yeah, Jack and the two Alpines are brothers. And then you have Savage Goat right behind
How
them.
about that?
Not a ton of battles going on there. They say they say they are British, but they live in the States, so kind of question
I
what
don't
side
know
of the
what to make
fence
of
of the
that.
Tea Party they're on.
That's right.
Did they throw the tea in the Boston Bay, or did they sip it? We're not really sure.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't
We'll
trust
see
them.
what happens.
But yeah, they'll have to prove their worth.
Oh, a Savage
know-
spins.
Savage has not had a good night. In Tier 1 as a reserve role, he just missed time. The VSC picked up a penalty, and now again he's having issues. Phil Mustard's still the only car now 8 laps in on the medium tires. We're going to see kind of how that strategy plays off as he spun out after having a phenomenal start to the race. Just got unbalanced, and we have another spin as well. Mad Roller, I think it is, in the Red Bull. Spun out, now dropping back to P13.
We have Fat making a move around Nina, going into the fast right-hander. He apparently is running a very low downforce setup as his straight line speed is like a rocket. But he's also completely out of battery at this point, so he is kind of vulnerable here.
Did you say Nina Levine or Fat?
Nina Levine, Fat,
Oh, he's got
Fat made
40%
a
ERS.
move around Nina, that is.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, Nina's one of those drivers I've noticed in the public lobbies. He's been putting in the work, and he has gotten significantly faster from the previous season. Really, somehow, miraculously, I don't have his luck, clearly in public lobbies, but he's avoiding it and finishing P1, 2, 3, 4. Generally speaking, around the top 5 in public lobbies. I wish I had that luck. Unfortunately, I'm just sitting back here saying, you know what, I guess I'll go for a fastest lap, and then I get taken out again by somebody. John C. last night, excuse me. But you know, it is what it is. It's tough. And even having reserved in a number of other leagues, Formula whatever, now being reserved
Dream
for,
going for cheeks.
the premier, I think it's PRN or PRL, Performance Racing League, which always goes to me, the Performance Racing Network, if you watch NASCAR or anything like that. It's interesting to see a lot of the drivers here still have the mentality that it's won or lost on the first lap.
That's right.
And you didn't see that in Tier 2, but we see it a lot in Tier 1 because we have a lot of fast guys, a lot of people who are aggressive, sometimes overly aggressive, and they try to do it going into the turn where they could easily do it coming out of the turn. And I think that's kind of where we see those little bit of nuances and differences. And so far through 9 laps, we haven't seen a single DNF. Granted, it's a little bit less drivers by about 5. But the T2 guys, they want the points. They want the shot at Tier 1.
That's right.
They don't jeopardize it as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the T1 guys, really know the value of track position, so they fight really hard in the first couple laps. And a lot of the time they fight too hard. I completely agree. Sort of
But that's
failing
where
to
it comes
recognize
down-
that it's a 27-lap race. There's a lot of time to make up lost positions, even if you spin. I think I've even won a race this season, even though I spun on my own one time. So there's plenty of time to make it up.
Points.
We
Position
have
is
Fat trying
very,
to
very
make a pass
crucial.
on Nina by going off the track. He gives that position back, but now he's completely on the
Right.
back of Nina here.
And you're absolutely right. Position is very, very crucial. But it's kind of a misnomer because some of the drivers burn out all of their ERS in the first couple laps and have nothing. and you have other drivers who spread it out and let it
Yep.
go. Zeech used to be one of those drivers who used to use all of his ERS in the very beginning. Takeshi did it tonight, who's joining us now in the pit box. I was watching his ERS. It was lap 7 or 8, and he was down to 25%. That's a lot. Me, I'm using it just enough to get into that 1 second barrier so that I have the DRS.
That's right.
That come the end of the race, I'm sitting at 60, 70, 80, even sometimes 90% ERS. So on those closing laps, I'm able to strike. So yes, position is very important, but it doesn't have to be done in the first third, the second third, or the final third. It's a battle of attrition. It's a battle of strategy. It's a battle of tire wear. And
Well, part of your strategy
a lot of
too
people
can
just
be,
get sucked in.
I completely agree. Part of your strategy too can be, let's say if you, it's a little bit squirrely off the track. If you have somebody in front of you who is, let's say, 2 seconds away, you're clearly not going to catch that person in 1 lap. But what you can do is not deploy any of your battery at all, and for several turns, see whether you're making any inroads just on race pace, just without battery at all. And if that person is
100%.
fighting somebody in front of them, you can almost be assured that you're going to make up at least some time. And while you're doing that, you're
100%.
completely saving your battery all the way up until you catch that person, and then you have that battery to fight them and overtake them.
You're absolutely right. And that's where, going back to our conversation earlier about downforce, where we've seen a lot lower wing positions. And it's exactly that point. Because for whatever reason this year, when they changed it from, it used to be 1 to 10, and now it's 0 to 50, you have so much more freedom and ability to really fine tune it based on the track. That you're exactly right. You can get that speed, you can get that momentum. The question is, where do you value it? Is it straight line speed, or is it in the turn?
Nina risking it.
Sure.
Early pit
It
stop.
comes down to you.
Yep, Nina with a very early pit stop
Early
here,
pit
going on the
stop.
mediums. And he was in a
I
very
agree
good
with that.
position.
They should have been waiting about another 4 laps for that.
Those are gonna
5
be
laps.
scary.
Unless he's going for a 2-stop.
Those are going. No, you can't do 2-stop on France. You just can't unless you get a safety car.
Yeah, we
did have 3 safety cars in Tier 1. We had it on lap
That is
1.
true.
We had it on lap 10, and I think it was lap 10 with Woody. And then again on lap 18
I don't think it was
with
Woody.
Prying Oak. It was. Those were the only 3 safety cars.
I thought Woody retired in the pits. Oh. Okay.
I believe he did during the sprint race.
He did in the sprint
I
race,
thought
correct.
we could see Cheeks make a move on Supreme. He's gaining a lot of time. Maybe into the early
The
pit
only
stop.
downside is this race is now so spread out. It's like watching Lewis v. Bottas v. Verstappen. But when you have a clean race, it really allows those drivers to shine. Lumpy Cheeks, phenomenal. He's won 3 out of the last 4, maybe 5 races. Jay Supreme has yet to get his first one on the year, I believe, but he has consistently been up in P2, P3, P1, really battling it. And right now he's showing that, hey, I might be, I can't be a force to reckon with come the latter half of the season or the second half of the season, because we're only 8 rounds in. There's still another 15 races to go. We are literally a third of the way in today. That is it.
And even still, just Lumpy Cheeks has run even fewer races than that, and he has vaulted himself into P1 and T2.
Very strong driver. Very consistent. I was in a session with him earlier. He almost beats himself up for not being quick enough. He was slow in Sector 3, and he's making that time up now. I guess he's tweaked his setup. Really great driver. High hopes.
And
in
he
that
is
limits.
now almost within a second of Jay Supreme. I would expect him to catch Supreme by the end of Sector 3 and get into DRS, and he also has
a lot
more battery
ERS.
to play with as well.
Supreme. I think Supreme's kind of cracking under pressure right now. I wonder what his running setup is. Hold up.
Well, at this point, both drivers will be dealing with pretty high deg on their hard compound tires, and we'll have to see which one will pit first. This is going to be a little bit too early, in my opinion.
I
But
mean,
maybe one of them
I
tries
agree
to
with you. I
undercut
think
the
those
other.
mediums. I think Phil's getting to the end of his medium tires. He
Yep.
had that early on spin. It wasn't great, but unfortunately, I
Oh,
think he's going to be at a disadvantage here,
he just
as you
got
see him pitting now.
warning.
And he also just
For
picked
those
up a
hards.
he also
Yep.
just picked up a time penalty.
2nd. Let's see how he does on his pit stop.
So
Excellent.
I was
2.2.
wrong, actually. Lumpy not able to get into DRS just yet.
It's close. Jay Supreme's really been using that ERS though. And you know, the one thing I wish that EA and Cody's would do is the ability to turn on a rotating or a slideshow type Amazon insight, because they show it when you stay on one for so long. But I'd rather throw this, you know, HUD and telemetry on the bottom and then have some nice tires, wear, stuff like that show. It would make it so
I
much
would
more
really
interesting,
like that
so
as
much more
well,
intriguing.
absolutely.
But you know what? They may not,
Jay
but
Supreme
we're gonna
pits.
have it here.
And to the pits.
Mr. Sertonk and Vlad here for the not Rocket League, but Racing League tools. You know, coming out with a completely redesigned live telemetry that we're gonna hopefully in the future be able to embed into our website. But in the very minimum, every time I'm racing or streaming, gonna have that then pumping to the to the stream, so you can see in real time gaps, sectors, tire wear. Everybody's not gonna be able to hide their stuff anymore. It's all gonna be live and on
That's
the stream. It's gonna be
fantastic.
so exciting.
If you're new to Fat
Savage
Limits,
picks up a penalty. Same
Our,
position as where Phil did.
Hines is our resident tech guru. He makes the whole server function, provides all the data for all of the racing analytics, and it really makes the games within the game very much more interesting, in my opinion, because you can really see your splits. You can see how many laps people were doing on different sets of tires, how fast their average laps were, what their consistency rating was. It's really awesome to be able to compare yourself to other drivers that way.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice little add-on. The data's there. The fact that, and I'm just learning how to do it, right? Like I use a tool. I'm not the one creating it. That all goes to Racing League tools. You know, it's really a village that makes it work. As we now have Lumpy Cheeks dive into the pits,
Everyone's
picking
getting a
up
penalty here.
That's right.
because they're trying to cut it a little too much going in. They're not staying on the racing line.
Yeah, Lumpy
That
went
unfortunately is
way
not
off
going
the
to be
track
able
the
to.
right.
He did indeed. We're going to look at the penalties now. That is Lumpy Cheeks with a +3, Harper Shock +5.
Thanks,
Matt
Supreme might
Rolla
have got.
3, Phil 3, and Savage 3.
Cheeks got the undercut.
Let's
Jay
see whether
Supreme's good.
Supreme can make it out.
He's gotten the undercut.
He's just coming down the pit straight.
Jay Supreme with the undercut. Let's see how much. Phenomenal
With ease,
execution.
Wow, yeah, that's right. With
Whoa.
But
ease.
the question is, was it Jay Supreme with the undercut because he was already in the lead, or was it Lumpy Cheeks with the failed overcut?
I think Lumpy Cheeks could have capitalized on this. He could have used all his ERS to potentially go for it.
But see, at that point though, I don't know if it's all that worth it, because you know you're not. It's not like F1 21. You're not going to get as much of ERS back in the pits like you used to. I mean, you used to be able to pit and get back for what, 50, 60, 70%, it felt like?
Yep.
Now you're not. And here we go. Jay Supreme's already burning through that ERS down to 33%, having just been at 45%. And he's on it again. He knows he has to make a move on Lumpy, who's only got one fresher laps, but is he... JMN's got a pit. Fat's got a pit. Why not save that ERS? Pichau's still got a pit. The only person you're worried about is Lumpy.
Yeah.
and he's back. He's not an immediate threat.
And he has a penalty too.
That's right. I mean, at least Supreme was able to get the move on Pichu done. But at this point, you're absolutely right. Now that he has more than a second gap on Lumpy, he should definitely be thinking about saving his battery to defend. Oh, but Lumpy just got DRS, so that's going to really help him close that gap.
As Jay Supreme sets the fastest lap of the race.
Now the hunt is on. Lumpy is going to try and get within that sacred 1 second. He's at a second and a half as we speak. It's down to 1.4 now.
I'm gonna step away for one quick second, but I will be back momentarily and let you boys have the floor. I know everybody's looking forward to me giving a breath.
Well, I just noticed how much more oxygen there is in the room. I'm just kidding, Heinz. So, Takashi, tell us about your podium.
Started off good, had a great start.
What position did you start in?
I think it was P15, 14.
Oh, wow. So
Somewhere
you made
in
up a ton of positions to get that podium.
Yeah. I just served the ERS, just stayed behind Classy, and Brian for a
Who
little
was
bit.
glitching a ton, by the way. I was
Yes.
really worried that I was going to run into him.
Yeah, he was very laggy. Raced a good race. Wish Classy could have placed better. I don't know why he
Yeah,
spun
that
off
was a
like that in the last
tragic ending
bit.
for him. Yeah, he
Yes, it
spun
was.
on the very last turn. Tragic.
Other than that, it was a fun Tier 1 race. Really nothing really went down. It was just nothing but a strategy game. The Alphas played it perfectly. And congratulations to Wafts again. Played hell of a race. Just saved his ERS. ERS is important on this track. As you know, it's hard to gain back, but is very dominant on these straights.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's fun, clean race.
Yep, Waff is another driver who is much, much improved.
Yes.
I found actually that he is much faster on F1 22 than 21, just in general. But a lot of that probably has to do with his learning curve as well. Just like so many drivers who have joined the Fat Limits League, you can just see a noticeable difference the more they race with their pace over that period of time. Yourself included, Takashi. I know that I have given you plenty of grief. It was just tough love. It was me wanting the best out of you and knowing that you were not living up to your potential, but you did tonight.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta take criticism to heart and realize that sometimes it's not always the other driver's fault. Sometimes it is your fault. You just gotta look back on what you did and realize that, as Fat picks up a penalty, you just gotta realize that you did do something wrong and you have to fix it.
Well, that's a fantastic perspective, especially these days when I think people get a little too in their feelings about maybe even legitimate criticism. That there's actually something to be learned, there's something to be gained, and maybe even some tough skin will help you deal with that criticism as well.
Oh, agreed, 100%.
But it is very true. But the issue is, and Takeshi, I'm going to use you as an example, so please don't take any offense to this, but back in the day, say season 2, season 3, I mean, you're a younger guy, you know, you're a little bullheaded. We all were there, and the criticism, whether it be constructive or otherwise, which it was a bit of both, you know, and you and I've had talks on the side. You know, it's tough because things are different, perceptions are different. But when people are able to take it, whether it's good or bad, and say, okay, maybe I messed it up, maybe I'm not. Even if people are wrong, sometimes, or not in the wrong, they're at fault, they're not at fault. Sometimes you have to be like, you know what, my bad, it happened. And being able to take that criticism and then apply it into the races, it works so much better. And yeah, you were a nightmare at points back then, right?
Absolutely.
But you are getting better. But and again, it's not a bad thing.
Fats
but
on the
you're getting
sauce.
better. But you're getting better, and you're driving much cleaner for the majority of the races. And yeah, you have room to grow. So we all have room to grow. Sometimes there's a inability to admit fault when some things are wrong. Kind of like you and I got together in Mexico. You may not think you pinched me. You did. It is what it is. But we moved on from it. And the next time we battled, it was super, super clean. And it's that maturity and growth. And no matter how old or young a driver is, but it's the ability to learn from their mistakes and become better and be able to say, you know what? I stuck it this time. Sorry you went off track. You can be mad and say I did something, but guess what? We never touched. And then it's when you have that ability to show that clip and say I didn't do anything that you're good. As we watch Jay Supreme now battle back to the inside of Lumpy Cheeks.
And look at his ERS difference.
I mean, that's the beauty of growing. Absolutely. Jay Supreme really got it up when before, not 3 laps ago, he had none. So it's really interesting to see how these two are going to have their duel, and it's going to be fun to ride on board with. But y'all are right. It is the ability to slow down. It's the ability to see what's in front of you and not just look one turn, but the second turn, the third turn in front of you, if the track permits, to be able to say, okay, I see what's happening. I know how to take avoiding action.
Yeah, that was another thing that I also had to learn was accident avoidance and really understanding the magnitude of making contact with another car on track, because it could not only ruin their race and give you a time penalty, but it can ruin your race and spin you out as well. And the more that you can avoid contact, the better your long-term result is going to be ultimately.
100%, and that's why you would see me get passed by people, historically, because I would back off into the turn going into turn 1, because I know what's going to happen, and guess what? I'm going to be able to get to the inside. Unfortunately, not everybody thinks the same way, and then you get hit from left to right, and you get jostled around, and it's kind of like a ping-pong ball. But it happens, right? You see it in NASCAR. I mean, look at Watkins Glen last weekend. Formula One fans would be appalled by the track limits that were used, right? I mean, they are 4 or 5 wide, beating off each other, leaning on each other. Formula One fans would be going, and he's dead, he's in the wall, and there'd be no cars left. Oh, and we just see Jay Supreme get a little loose, trying to get on throttle just a tick too soon. Coming out of the Bassett. Ooh, that gave Lumpy just enough to almost sneak out of DRS range, but Lumpy still has a 3-second penalty. So Jay Supreme doesn't have to fight him. He just has to stay within 3 seconds, and he's going to get his first podium of the year.
His first win also.
Comes back to
win, yeah.
Exactly.
He took a podium at Spa. There was a double podium for Ferrari, but that wasn't his win.
And Monaco. And I believe Jeddah as well. I mean,
He's had a good
Ferrari's been
season.
on a tear lately.
Ferrari has
Well,
been
you should
dominating.
look at
we have
the constructor standings.
DNFs.
Ferrari has been running away
DNFs,
with
and
it.
it is a full course safety car.
Oh, are they gonna pit? Are they gonna pit for softs?
This is a critical decision here.
100%. Savage Goat, Phil Mustard, in a beautiful position to get those softs, and only Phil pits. Phil going for the softs. He's saying, I'm going to make this up as I catch up to the field. I like the strategy out of Phil Mustard right now. I am here for that.
We're also very far back in the race, so they might stay out just to linger it out. We will be back up to 100% ERS, so this will be a dogfight to the finish.
This is another situation, Heinz, where the data on tire deg would be so interesting to see, because even putting softs on during a safety car, they start to go off. At the end of the safety car, your tires on softs could be deg already.
I think Jay Supreme should pay. Ooh. Okay.
pit before everyone else.
I kind of wanted Supreme
like
to stay
he's-
out.
I'm 100% getting made fun of by the fiance for my commentary right now, and I'm not mad about it.
You know what's entertaining?
I'm excited for the shootout, boys. I don't know what
I
there's
am
no
too.
other way around it.
Well,
You
this
know
is
what, let's go
basically
ahead and get
turned
Matt
this
in here.
Grand
See
Prix
see
into
what
a
he has
sprint
to say.
race.
We'll try to get some commentary from him if he's still in the game. Let's see here. Juan.
Fat Limit's picking up a bunch of positions.
We'll see if we can't get Matt rolling in here. Get a little feedback from him.
Motorola has DNF'd. I didn't see that. He's the one that brought out the safety car, right?
That's right.
Okay. Oh, this should be interesting though. Lumpy Cheeks versus J Supreme. Could Lumpy get a tier 1 spot?
Well, he would if he finishes in the top 4, which it looks like he's likely to do.
Yeah, we'll see.
Are
but
you
I'm-
saying that tier 1 might lose a driver for attendance purposes or something?
Maybe.
Who?
Well, that's how you got your seat, because you were at the top of tier 2, correct?
Yes, correct.
Well, Flan also had to drop out because of time issues. That's why I think Flan was the second one. Why Takeshi?
Yes, I did take Flan's seat, and then Flan took my seat.
Correct. Yes.
Yes,
Um,
overcoming the poll that I launched against you joining our league. Again, just building that tough skin.
Fair criticism. Yeah, fair criticism.
but I mean-
I can't even be mad about it.
But here's the thing too about our league versus other leagues, right?
Mhm.
They're all great in their own perspective way. But something that ours has that other ones don't necessarily have is community and camaraderie and rapport.
Absolutely.
And you know, I'm another ones where they
Completely
do talk and you know, unfortunately, a shout out to Spicy Nuggies. Or I think it was no. I'm sorry, it was Mo Juice. No. His poor sweet girl. His doggo is you know fighting an uphill battle right, and so T's and P's with him, and that's one that has a little bit of you know going back and forth. I'm in it, John's in it, Pat Dog's in it. I run a reserve role, and so does Pat Dog and Jay Supreme as well. Just because I don't have the time, and I give 20 hours a week or so to this league. But you just don't necessarily see all that community where they're constantly running together, or they're constantly talking or playing other games, whether it be FIFA, or Rocket League, or Fall Guys, or whatever it may be. It's something that
Or
I
just
feel
giving
is
tips
really
in regular
unique to
life.
this. You know, it's nice, it's fun. It's something that's very much meaningful, and we're probably not going to take the green flag. I would assume this time by if XJ can get up, but the game might say no. Because we're going to take this with only 4 full laps left around the circuit. I think we're going by. Or I'm sorry, it'll be 3. I think we go green this time by,
Yeah.
and it's going to be anybody's race.
This might be. Chiefs could drop down a lot. He still has that 3-second penalty.
Absolutely. But
Unless he could protest it.
Fat's not going to have anything to do with it. So, I mean, it's Cheeks is to lose. He's got a gap. He's sitting at. Okay, so let's see how it runs
Yeah.
now. Every driver now at 100% ERS except for Harper Shock. He's trying to build it up still. He's down to 83. And then you got to go all the way back to Pichau to be at 80, TNT at 90, Phil at 79, Savage at 78, and then XJ at 60 trying to catch up. Using ERS under safety car conditions to try to catch up to the field. Not sure how I feel about that one, especially when you have a penalty. But hey, we'll see. We'll find out here momentarily. I don't think I've seen the
This is
safety
one of
car
those
this time by,
situations-
right? So we're gonna go green on lap 25. So it'll be lap 20. Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Safety
A
car
late
will be
safety
in.
car.
Safety car in this lap. Game take control of
This is
throttle.
one of those situations where Lumpy could overcook it trying to get out of that 3-second gap and
Yep,
preserve
absolutely.
positions and completely lose the car,
100%.
especially on cold tires. So it looks like
It's,
he's
wasn't-
going a little bit early here.
it's a
Yeah,
battle.
he's trying to get
it's-
away already.
It's a battle on 2 fronts. It's the other driver, and it's yourself. And at this point, you are your own worst enemy on what you're going to do or not do. But he gets a great start here, already out to a 1 second lead. He has to use that ERS because, quite honestly, I don't think they're going to have another chance at DRS unless it's maybe lap 27, but I don't even think then they're going to get it.
We could see the beginning of Sector 2 be a problem for drivers. As sometimes they don't heat up their tires. They could lose it here. See if Lumpy makes it.
This is the turn where I almost guarantee somebody's going to lose it.
Yep,
Oh,
absolutely.
Fat just takes a complete fat limit line.
Well, to be fair, that's not completely insane. And it looks like, Nichols, you're not allowing anybody else's commentary to come through. And so people like Alex Morris are asking who in the world you're talking to.
Well, I'm glad to know that somebody's watching my stream.
Well, you know, hey, it
We
makes it
could
fun.
see Dream in a P2 or a P1 situation. He is pushing hard against Jay Supreme.
He is indeed, and Dream's another one who deserves, you know, the podiums and deserves the spots. Lumpy's been there. We know he can do it, but Jay Supreme's knocking on the door. Dream's been running well, not just as a reserve, but in T2 as well. Mooney has had a lot of heartbreak in seasons 2 and 3. He's putting out a nice run tonight. Harper Shock, he showed last year that he can compete. He's on the mediums. Strategy may not pay off, but he's trying to do what he can. And then you got the rest of the field. Phil, I think, is probably the one kicking himself in the butt the most because he's another one who, from where he was a year or a season ago, 2 seasons ago, he has really turned up the heat. I mean, he is making the turnkey 100%. And it shows. And I think he's kind of like the golfer, right? But on the opposite side of it, because
as he spins.
Yeah, it's the the commentator's curse, unfortunately. But seriously, he's the opposite of the golfer. The golfer, you know, the weekend warrior, so to speak, comes out, shows up 5 minutes late, drinking. If he hits the range, he's gonna hit all his good balls before he gets on, you know, on the greens and on the tee boxes. Phil's the opposite. He's the Tiger Woods. He's the, well, I'd say, actually Dustin Johnson would probably be more fitting. Sorry, got a little something on my nose there. Get it?
White powder.
Nichols Golfs. Yep, you guys get it. Dustin Johnson. You know, Phil's that guy who, with that practice, comes out, but then he's his own worst enemy. Twice now he's spun a DNF. If he can just get off that line, kind of take himself back from that rowdy cold trickle, and maybe be a little bit more of a middle of the pack in the beginning, I think it'd be all right a little bit down the road. But here we are, the last lap. We now have DRS enabled. This is Dream to Cream's chance to be able to do something. He's only got 11% ERS, which is tough. Jay Supreme has 19.
He's even lower than that.
But right now, he's sitting on the podium. Unless any of these top 3 spin, it is going to be a Supreme, Dream, Lumpy finish, because Lumpy does have that 3-second penalty.
Oh, Dream spin.
Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's tragic. Oh, and Lumpy just picks up another 3-second penalty.
Oh.
So this is Supreme's win.
Commentator curse. Holy shit.
As he spun. Jamin's fighting him.
Wow.
They're gonna go
Hines,
too
you
wide
need to be
into the
more
chicane.
careful.
I know.
'Cause you
I
got
need to
me
stop
with the
talking.
commentator's curse
okay,
once as well.
There might be a penalty right here. Jamin being very aggressive deep into the corner. Almost not leaving any space for Dream. Oh.
Now we have him going way off the track.
Okay.
Fighting for position with Pichu.
Oh, as
If
they
he
go
overtook,
3
he's going to have to give that back.
Dream, they went 3
Oh,
wide.
and Dream loses it again. Oh, that's a very
No.
unsafe re-entry.
Oh, no.
Oh, Dream falling off the podium
Went
and
3
now
wide. He got
probably
greedy.
out of the points.
As
He's
Mooney
in
picks up a
P10.
podium.
Mooney might get P2 out of it. And Mooney
Yes, he
does
does.
get P2.
We have Nino
That's-
with the penalty as well, so
He's
Harper's
Absolutely.
going to
back
overtake
at
him.
least to P5. And he'll finish P5.
Unfortunate situation by Dream. Unfortunate. As he gets
Both
P9.
races, T1 and T2 had somebody in the podium crash out on the last lap.
Good racing from J Supreme. I wouldn't say dominant, but he showed really good race pace here. As he gets a P1.
Well, he did what he needed to do.
Absolutely. He stayed in. He knew his limits, and he tested them.
Fat Lives is definitely not getting the driver of the day in this league. So much luck.
We could bring him in for a post-race interview because driver of the day typically does, but I don't know if he deserves it. I agree.
And you know, that's one thing I want to do if I get more time down the road, to be able to bring in more some color commentary, to get some overlays for what Dream, not Dream, but what our boy Moist does. But as you can see here on the podium, we do have J Supreme due to the 6 seconds of penalties to Lumpy Cheeks missing out on his 3rd straight podium, and would have been our first three-peat on the season in either division, as Wafts now has the opportunity in T1 to go 3 for 3 here at Imola weekend. It is a J Supreme for his first ever Fat Limits win, Mooney with his first ever, I believe, 2nd place podium, and then Lumpy Cheeks rounding out your top 3. Harper Shock making the jump over Nina Levine due to the 3-second time penalty, followed by Pichot, JMN, his TNT, others in the Alpines being the only other team outside of Aston Martin to finish both in the points. Fat Lives Matter, who will not count after Dream to Cream, Goat, XJ Boy, Phil Mustard, and
as we have a penalty. Harper Shock's penalty already. On who?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining this special streaming of a Fat Limits F1 League 2 division. I know we do not get to do it very often, but I do appreciate Nichols 333 and Takeshi 69 joining us tonight for the color commentary. It has been an absolute pleasure, gentlemen, being with you. Looking forward to what happens at Imola for round number 9 next Sunday.
Absolutely.
7:30 Eastern time for the Tier 2 division. The Tier 1 division drops at 6 Eastern. These two drivers looking today will be indeed in that Tier 1 division. Nichols trying to close the gap on Zeech a little bit closer than he did tonight and really make it a battle. We'll see what happens. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you on Sunday.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good evening.